Welcome to Add It Up, the podcast that makes ad tech make sense, even if you've never worked in advertising a day in your life. In this series, we take complex stuff and we break it down into simple, everyday language. Because in an industry full of acronyms and jargon, it shouldn't be this hard to understand what's really going on. I'm ksanford from MediaOcean, and whether you're brushing up, just learning something new, or honestly just curious, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so let's jump in with a quick introduction. If you're here listening to this first episode, odds are you're probably in advertising or tech. Or maybe not, and you just want to listen in. Either way, no judgment. We're glad you're here. Welcome. Today, we're providing an intro to advertising technology, or as you'll probably hear it referred to, ad tech. Before we dive into what ad tech is, it might be helpful to provide a little background for context. The world of advertising is big and complex. I'm sure that comes as no surprise. In order to advertise online, brands needed somewhere to put their ads. Companies saw the need for this and in return created a process and place for those ads to live online. That's a very simplified overview of how digital advertising was born. As I'm sure you can imagine, the dawn of digital advertising was way more complex and messy and exciting than that explanation. But that's a story for another episode. So back to the beginning, enter ad tech. Ad tech basically encompasses all the tools you can use to make advertising efficient and effective. So the tools that make buying and selling ads easier, the tools that help you find an audience for your campaigns, the tools that help get those ads live, and then the tools that help them see how they're performing. All the stuff you need to make advertising online happen and make sure it's working is ad tech. Also, just as a heads up, there's going to be a lot of names and a lot of acronyms in this episode, so it might be a good idea to take some notes if this is all new. You've been warned. Okay, so chapter 2. Let's talk a little bit about the big players in the space. Within ad tech, there are a lot of players, as I'm sure you can guess. I'm going to spend a little time today introducing those players briefly. Consider this part 1 a basic overview, and episode 2 will be a part 2, a deeper dive into more specifics. But in the interest of time, and honestly, people's attention spans, part 1 is foundational and to the point. So first up are advertisers. These are the brands that want to promote their products or services. They're the ones with the money, and they usually have goals like driving awareness, getting more clicks, or driving sales. Number 2 is agencies. Think of these kind of like an extension of advertisers. They kind of act as a brand's representative, buying placements, creating creatives, and managing their campaigns. Now, if you don't know what a placement or creative is yet, don't worry, we'll go into that later. But the important thing to know is that a lot of money flows through ad agencies. Next, we have publishers. These are the websites, social apps, or streaming platforms that have ad space to sell to advertisers. We refer to that as inventory. Think about somewhere you've seen an ad before, like a website that loaded and you saw an ad on it. That website is a publisher. Their goal is to monetize their content by offering inventory space to advertisers. So next are ad networks. Ad networks kind of act as a sort of middle layer between the publishers and the advertisers. They help the advertisers by bundling together ad inventory from different publishers for them, and then they sell it to the advertisers. They really help simplify the process because they're the ones sorting through and grouping the supply. From there, we can start jumping into some of the technical platforms that really help enable the buying and selling of ad space. Chapter 3, the technology. So first up, we have ad exchanges. Think of these as like digital marketplaces where advertisers and publishers meet. This is where something called real-time bidding is happening. This is like a literal auction happening on the internet for ad inventory. and companies will then bid to have their ad shown. Now, something to remember is that the transactions happening within ad exchanges are happening within milliseconds, as a web page loads, in fact. And the one who wins the bid is the one whose ad gets shown. So next, we have demand-side platforms, or as they're usually referred to, DSPs. These are tools that advertisers use to buy ad space. A DSP allows advertisers to manage multiple ad exchanges and data sources all in one place. So DSPs will use things like algorithms to decide what ads to buy and how much to pay for them, all in a split second. Now, we have demand-side platforms. On the flip side, we also have supply-side platforms, or SSPs. These are used by publishers to manage, sell, and optimize the ad inventory that they have. So SSPs essentially help publishers get the most bang for their buck. They help them maximize the value of their ad space by connecting them to a bunch of different buyers and running auctions for them, so they get the best price possible. Another important player in the space are data platforms. So they have a few different names like Data Management Platform, or DMPs, or Customer Data Platforms, or CDPs. These platforms collect and organize data, primarily user data. So they'll track things like behavior, interests, demographics, and they use that data so that advertisers can better target the right people for their ads, which ultimately just helps them make smarter decisions for their campaigns. And last, but certainly not least, we have ad servers. Ad servers are responsible for actually delivering the ads to users and then seeing how they perform. So they'll track things like impressions, or how many times an ad was shown, or clicks, which is self-explanatory. They're really, really important because they're the guys that make sure that the campaigns run smoothly and make sure that the ads run where and when the advertisers want them to. We'll dive more into why ad servers are so important in our third episode, so definitely stay tuned for that. So Chapter 4, the takeaway. Now, I know that might sound like a lot, and honestly, it is. But at a high level, all of these players work together to power the digital ads that you and I see every day. And it's not an exhaustive list either, because within each of these players and beyond, there are hosts of companies to fine-tune it all. But over the course of this series, we'll break down each of these as well as other players, so you can really understand how they work and how they connect. Like in episode 2, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the process that these guys are all a part of. So for now, think of this as your foundation. Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe. And if there's a topic you'd like us to break down next, let me know. You can reach me at ksanford@mediaocean.com. See you next time.